Memorable. Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Roth Novak. I am the CEO and co-founder of Party Slate. I'm feeling a little out of practice. I used to do these webinars every single week, and now we moved them to monthly. So got to get my groove back. But I am so excited for our topic today. Website best practices to drive inquiries and leads and conversions. We can totally geek out together. And today, I am so excited to invite Sam Jacobson to be my co-host with me. And Sam and I met in Engage, and I think it was like 5 years ago. I'm not sure. And I remember when I met you and I started talking about websites, we immediately connected on best practices and business. And I'm just so excited to have you with us today. Also, before I kind of let you introduce yourself, Chavi, thank you for being our moderator today. Chavi not only is an amazing speaker, but she's the head of our product group, which is another way of saying she's the person that prioritizes with our tech team and our account team all the amazing things that we build into partyslate.com into our platform. So she's got a tough job. So Chavi, thank you for being with us today. So before we get started on intros, please change your chat. And if you could tell us where you're zooming in from today in the chat, change it to everyone so everyone can see where you're from. But Sam, tell us before we get started, just a little bit about your background and how you fell into the event space and then started this amazing coaching business that you have, which is so impressive.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, really great to be here. And you're right, I did fall into the wedding business like so many of us. I was in restaurants from basically the time that I could drive to the local Holiday Inn and do room service and bus tables. I was in restaurants, and fast forward a dozen years after I'd gone to high school and graduated college and I'd moved up to the San Juan Islands, I got a gig as a bar and then restaurant manager. And one day, the GM of the company came over and said, "Hey, Sam, guess what? You are our new weddings guy." And I said, "But Brent, I know nothing about weddings." He says, "Well, the person who was doing weddings is now gone because she had to leave for a family emergency. And that means you are our best candidate. You have a rehearsal in 2 hours."
Oh gosh.
And that's literally how it started for me. I was
Yeah.
hooked from the
Yeah.
beginning. And I ended up doing that position for 8 years. I was a venue and catering manager, in addition to a lodging operations manager. And I sold hundreds of couples, millions of dollars in catering and venue rentals to premium clients in the Northwest. And after a while, I kind of topped out where I was and I wanted to see what I could do in a bigger market for a bigger company. And so I ended up connecting with Todd Fiskus, who owns Todd Events out of Texas, one of the biggest production companies in the luxury space in the country. And he picked me up as his number two. And I went to Texas for a couple of years, did that, and realized that I loved helping grow companies and I wanted to do it more than one at a time. And so I decided to open up a coaching and consulting business in December of 2016. And I found my little niche in sales and pricing. And then a few years ago, I realized that my coaching clients weren't getting enough inquiries. And so I kept telling them to improve their website. And they kept telling me they couldn't find anybody they could trust that was getting the results that they wanted to see. So we decided to do something about it. My wife and business partner, Katie, who worked for Four Seasons for over a decade, went through training for conversion copywriting. I joined her along the way. And over the last 3 years, we've become a creative agency that does copywriting and website work with 5 full-time employees. And we do websites from the ground up or just copy only.
Amazing. And, we have this similar background in that before I started Party Slate, I had a digital agency background. So I've done websites for 20 plus years. I know that dates me a little bit, but since the very beginning, helping big companies think how digital can help them build a stronger brand and grow their business. And so we've taken all of that knowledge. And of course, the people on my team are smarter than I am and created, again, for the new people on the call, a platform that really helps event professionals and venues become better digital marketers. Our vision is to really be the leading event inspiration platform in the world, connecting people planning these events with people like you that are on the call, to build your brand, drive leads. And obviously what we're going to talk about today is conversions. And so I'm going to later on give a little demo of a Party Slate profile and how to drive conversions there. But the way we're going to start this webinar is really talking about websites and third-party platforms and the role they play in your digital footprint, and how important it is to really be thinking about your story, the copy, the images, your calls to action, in order to optimize your funnel. Meaning, again, you and I love to talk about a good funnel, but getting people that find you some way, whether it's through SEO, whether it's through social media, whether it's through word of mouth, they come to your website, and what do they experience, and how do you encourage them to contact you? Not to close. We know that we're not going to close on the website or the third-party platform, but really it's to drive further engagement. So these are two important pieces of the digital footprint. Of course, you need to be thinking about social media, your network, SEO. That is for another day. So today, I'm really excited, Sam, to dig into first your website. And again, I'm so passionate. I invited you to this webinar. I got an email from your company, so good job. The conversion worked, about your focus on simplifying all of these best practices into website templates and really a copywriting strategy and all this stuff. So you and I together created this list of 5 things you can do to really drive more leads or more qualified inquiries. And so what I thought we could do is go through these 5 areas and then look at some real websites and kind of dissect what they're doing. So, and please, any questions, Chubby is standing by. So please, I see some friends from all over the country on the webinar. So please don't hold back. So the first one I think is so important is the homepage handshake. When people get to your website, you have probably about 3 seconds for them to understand who you are, what you mean, and give that very, very first impression that you want to learn more. Sam, tell us about how you think about that first impression on the homepage and what's important, and then we'll go look at some examples.
Yeah, I love your homepage as a handshake. I think it's perfect because it's that first impression that you have with somebody that you're meeting. And I think there's a lot of things that go into that first 3 seconds. It's amazing how fast somebody is forming that impression of your business and whether or not they want to continue to interact with it. Yeah. And so there's a lot that has to work well. You've got to have a great image or moving images like a video. You've got to have simple navigation, and then there's also got to be, sorry, getting a little bit of feedback there.
Sorry, that's probably me.
That's all right. Yeah. You've also got to make sure that that there's some sort of hook. There's a reason for them to stay. And yes, this is where most people miss the mark. It's not hard to get a good image. It's hard to get a great image, and we'll talk more about that. But it's not hard to get a good image. You can get your navigation set up right away. But I think the thing that most wedding pros miss out on is a really strong hook that's going to bring somebody in after they've had a chance to just look through real quickly the hero image and the navigation.
And I'm going to just show a couple websites. Again, I didn't build these websites. Again, we're Party Slate, so I'm not trying to, say that this is the perfect way. But Paramount Events is a leading catering company in Chicago. And what I like about their handshake is, celebrate local flavors. They're already positioning like farm to table and the importance of local. And they have a nice paragraph, but they have right away this call to action, like what type of culinary experience are you interested in? Events, weddings, social, drop off. So it's that strong call to action. And then they do start to talk a little bit about who they are. Again, the call to action, meet the team, what they do. Again, you don't have to have this long of a homepage, but I do like this section right here on that, like, we believe life's moments happen around the table. They're positioning, a very strong positioning. The images are beautiful, and then the strong call to action. And then I'm going to show one more. Many of you know Michelle Rago, who's a destination planner. I like the video. I think that's amazing. You don't have to do video. There's pros and cons of video, but I like that her handshake, your concierge to luxury. Michelle Rago Destinations is a full service boutique planning firm focused on creating amazing events and experiences around the world. Like boom, like that's her positioning. It's plain language. It's not fancy. And then it's not, Sam, you like my example. You're not throwing the ring, the first person you see at the bar, marry me, 800 number. It's learn more about us, find out about our services, see our portfolio. And I know this one, Sam, you guys have used with your new templated system. Talk a little bit about kind of this handshake on for Zandi Entertainment. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, Roman Zandy. Yeah, Zandy
Zandy.
Entertainment. So you've got a really captivating hero image, and it shows excitement and engagement and immersive experiences, which is ultimately what he wants. Notice that he's a DJ and provides entertainment, but it's not about him DJing, which is a mistake that you don't want to make. It's not about you, it's about the couple. And then we have this tagline, the party of a lifetime, which is really what you want your wedding to be, but because it's an entertainment company, we're throwing the word party in there. And as you go through this homepage, you'll see party, party, party is over and over and over again the centerpiece of what it is that we're focused on. So there's hooks in some of the language, but it's really showcasing real quickly for somebody who's skimming what it is that they want to see with the kinds of images that are showing, and then the copy is something that they can read if they want to dig into.
Absolutely. And I think the second area we're going to talk about engaging calls to action to build the relationship. This is where, again, these calls to action are so important. So if you know someone's getting married, why not lead them right to the wedding section so you can actually see? And I hate to call them big dumb buttons because it doesn't always have to be a button, but sometimes the button is more effective than just the link. You don't always have to have the button, but these calls to action really drive further engagement. And there is a direct correlation on how long you can get them to stay in your website and the likelihood that they're going to contact you. And I know on Party Slate, our average kind of stay time is about 4 or 5 minutes, which may sound like not a lot, but in internet time, that is a long, long time. Sometimes 30 seconds they bounce. That's a long, long time to keep people engaged. So anything you want to add on kind of the call to action front on really helping you build a relationship?
One of the things that I find is a good little test of whether or not your calls to action are visible enough and easy to see. It's called the Blurry Eye Test. For me, I would just need to take my glasses off. But for anybody else, you can just kind of squint a little bit and back away from the screen 4 or 5
that because
feet.
my eyes are really bad, Sam. So this is
There you go. So you could just take your glasses off, right?
Yeah.
And if you can scroll through on your phone or on the screen, and you can pick out where the calls to action are as you're scrolling, that means that they are prominent enough. If you skip over because you can't pick them up with blurry eyes or from 4, 5, 6 feet away, if you can't see the calls to action, neither can somebody who's skimming your site for the first time.
Yeah, I love that. I've never heard that. I've heard it all, Sam, and I haven't heard that one before. So I love that one.
Yes. I'm like George Costanza, mic drop, and I'm out. That's it. I'm out. I'm done.
But never
webinar over.
Take the glasses off. Okay. The next area, the third area, is a simple user experience. And I always say less is more when it comes to navigation. And actually the navigation on this website perfectly matches what mine. I'll send everyone a recording and this presentation, so no need to take notes. In the simplest way, about, services, gallery, press is optional. It can be under the about section, blog, and contact. If you look at this is exactly the navigation. We did not plan this in advance. This is the simplest navigation. I almost think sometimes you don't even need the home button. If you have your logo to the left, it's almost like an extra spot that you could use for something else. But simple navigation, fast loading, making sure it's optimized for mobile. And again, pagespeedinsights.com. Maybe Chubby, you can put that link in the chat. You can find out how well you're doing with user experience at a high level by looking at your score. If your desktop or mobile score is low, you might have images that are too large. Your navigation may not be loading correctly. It's a free service that Google offers just to show how technically correct your website is built. And that does impact your SEO scores and also just your user experience. So anything you want to add on user experience and what you look for, Sam?
I think the contribution to user experience that's important that a lot of people don't think about is that you're really creating a website that's going to be viewed several different times
Yeah.
in several different stages of the decision-making process. And so we want to make sure that we're creating a website that's going to be user-friendly for somebody who's probably looking at your website for maybe 10 to 15 seconds to see if it's something that they want to commit to spending more time on. So
Yes.
you got to have that be your first goal is how can I create a website that is going to be easy to learn from or become excited about within seconds. And then you want to create a website that is something that somebody could spend, I don't know, 2 to 5 minutes on if they wanted to go through and get the highlights. Maybe they want to look more at than just the photos or the about snippet that you have, or look at your galleries. Maybe they want to read a little bit more. So
Yeah.
you really want to focus on some of the copy, but especially the headlines. And you
Yes.
want to make sure that if somebody was skimming for those headlines, that they're going to pick up on the things that they need to know enough to really get to the contact form. And then also from a user experience, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, you got to make sure that it's easy for them to acquire.
Mhm.
Ultimately, what most wedding professionals want, maybe not Michelle, because she's probably getting hundreds of inquiries a year, but most wedding pros who want more inquiries, you got to make it easy to get the inquiry, which means
Yes.
reduce the obstacles that get in the way. Make it easy to see the contact, make it easy to fill out the contact form, reassure them at that last second that they're ready to go,
Yeah.
and you'll get more inquiries than you were before.
Yeah, and I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit about inspiring them to contact you, which is our number, our fifth area, and I can go back to that. But this page is so important, and I love, it would be an honor. Like I love that, you're really deferring to them, that it would be an honor to speak to them, learn more about their event. Some pages for forms are just kind of a cold form, and there's nothing else there. And I'm like, this is your moment of truth to like encourage them to reach out to you. So have that last conversation with them and be grateful for their time, and really encourage them to fill it out. And I like that this form is clean and simple, and it does have some information, but it's not required. They're not all required fields. I think this is really great. And then just a simple submit form. So I think this is done really well. The fourth area that we've talked about is really a curated photos and videos section. And you and I have talked a lot about how you actually select those photos and those videos. And we're actually together speaking at the special event, which I'm really excited about, to talk about photo curation, how you tell your story. Sam, tell me what you look for when you look at a photo portfolio.
So there's going to be really two passes that I'm going to make. One is, are the images of the highest quality, and do they represent the kind of work that the clients are going to get from that particular service provider, whatever they may be. So it must be high quality, must showcase the work to the best of the ability that your company offers. That's just fundamentals. Like you've got to do that, right?
Yeah.
So you can't have images that are like the horizon line is off, or they're blurry or pixelated, or the wrong thing is in focus, or they're boring, or they don't showcase the kind of work that you do. But the second thing, and I think that next level is to identify what is the psychological motivation that your buyer has when they make decisions in life about their wedding, about your vendor category, and how can you represent or mirror that back to them in the images that you choose.
Yeah.
And everybody's driven by something different,
Yeah.
but we know that we have an ideal client. We need to know what that motivator is, and then we would want to showcase it. So for instance, I'll show you, like, just in here, like go back to that image real quick, Julie, please, about, I think it was 11, with like the guys all together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those two images, those three images right there, this says engagement. So there are, a number of different motivations that human beings have. One of them is engagement. We want to suspend the world around us, and we want to just live in the moment and indulge in life's greatest joys and pleasures.
Mm-hmm.
Food, drink, activity, dancing, celebration, fun, being with your friends, and doing crazy things. And look at these photos. These photos all showcase that kind of engagement. We're on vacation. we're hanging out with our friends, we're doing crazy, cool, fun stuff that we couldn't do if they were, say, in their suits in the office in Manhattan, which is probably where a lot of Michelle's clients do their 9 to 5
Yeah.
work.
And
So there's
she's positioning as destination. So there is that activities in there. It's not
that's
just
exactly right.
photos like this of the decor. It's the essence of what could a destination wedding be like if I worked with her.
And so we know that people who are doing destination weddings, one of their primary motivators is engagement. They are literally saying bye-bye to the real world. They're taking their family and friends and transplanting them into a make-believe world that they have created. And Michelle, she calls her business experiences.
Yes.
She's literally put that into her company's name, where it's Michelle Rago Destinations and Experiences, because she knows that that's what her people are all about. It's not big, huge, gorgeous flower walls or ceilings that are dripping with flowers or whatever else it might be that's designed in decor. She knows that the setting that she's creating is the kind of designed experience that people want to have. And she's showcasing that in her photos.
And I also think the importance of, really, I would actually suggest to Michelle having her navigation shown on the desktop version, not having the mobile navigation, but having that link directly to the portfolio, whether you call them photos, portfolio, gallery, that must be a key navigation item for you. And the other thing I'll say is many times I see on websites, they have a big Instagram link at the top or big social media. You actually have them on your website, which is lower in the funnel than your social media. I know we all want as many followers as possible, but your goal is actually to keep them on the website and to contact you, not to push them back out to social media. So again, you should always have the links to social media on your contact page, maybe in your footer, but I would not have a huge section of your homepage with the pulling in the Instagram photos, because that's the opposite of what you do. You have them lower in the funnel, don't push them back up, back out. I don't know how you feel about that.
Agreed, 100%. One of the things
we're going to try to have some things we disagree on just for fun, but I can't find anything yet.
There's you haven't found anything yet. Haven't found it yet. Okay. No, I see this all the time. People put, their social, click-throughs in very visible areas. I'm like, no, don't do that. You work so hard to get them to your website. Don't let them leave by going, oh, I wonder what's down this rabbit hole. Click.
Yeah, no, don't do that. So it's kind of like, when people are trying to sell a car, once you get them into the car, you have a really good chance. Like, you got to just get them into that car. You don't want to go send them to a dealership across the street when you have them in the car. And so having them on your website and getting people engaged there is the priority. That is the single priority, is to keep them engaged, build a relationship, and then ultimately get them to contact you. So one thing I want to talk about a little bit is on pricing, because you're an expert in pricing, and we're going to talk about that when we go through the Party Slate profile. There's a lot of controversy about, do you put pricing? Do you not put pricing? Do you put starting at? I think the answer is different for everyone. And my perspective, in a time of plenty, when there's a lot of inquiries coming in and you really don't have the time to weed out a lot of the things that aren't going to work for you, that even some starting at or some high level messaging around pricing could actually help you better qualify the type of inquiries that are coming in. And Sam, I'd just like to know, you are the expert in this area. What is your perspective?
I think you're totally wrong. No, I'm kidding. Yeah,
we planned that.
I tried to say it pretty deadpan.
I knew you couldn't.
No, I think you're right. Here are some things, just some general rules about pricing psychology. Yeah. Number one, the more you talk about pricing, the scarier it is to people. So you don't want to talk about pricing a lot. Pricing is a cost. A cost is a loss. A loss is processed by the brain as a pain. Yeah. So when you talk about money with people, they experience a pain sensation, and we don't want that to happen. So we want to talk about it not very much. Most wedding pros are either not talking about it at all, or they're talking about it too much on their website. So if you have your packages on your website, I strongly recommend not having that anymore. If you are getting into detailed pricing on your website, I would not recommend that. If you have pricing in your contact form too much too soon, even if you're getting a lot of inquiries, that can still scare away the millionaires and billionaires who are like, I'm not going to spend $150,000 on my wedding. There's no way. They may end up spending $500,000, but they don't know it yet.
Yeah,
So if you ask them for their budget too early, they may be spooked by the options that you give. So too much, too soon, too detailed are usually the mistakes that I see on websites. I love the starting at price on your website. I think that's a great opportunity for you to set a bar that is going to be cleared by mostly people who are qualified and have the funds and the wherewithal and the desire to spend that kind of money on your services. We recommend putting it on the bottom of your services page after you've had a chance to build up value.
yeah.
It also means that people have gone through and they've looked at your homepage. They probably looked at your galleries or your portfolio. They probably read your about page, and now they're on to the serious stuff, which is your services.
Yeah.
And so you can bet that they're probably further along in their desire to get information from you, and so they're ready to know what your services are worth. You just put a simple, we work on events starting at, or our services start at, or prices starting at. I don't recommend using a tricky term like investment
Yeah.
in
No one uses
emotionally.
that word. Yeah.
No, yeah, it actually will snap you out of what's called your system one way of thinking. So you have two systems of thinking. System one is emotional, irrational, fast, impulsive, automatic. System two is very, very rational, logical, thorough, deliberate, and it's very slow. And
Yeah.
so what we want to do is we want to avoid words and terms that trigger a system two response, where something like investment says, oh, I need to sit down rationally and analyze this to see if it's worth my
To see if
money
there's
or
an
my time.
ROI.
Yeah, yeah. It's like we're not conducting business here, folks. We are
Yeah.
selling wedding services. We are
Yeah.
selling 6 hours of joy in
Yeah.
somebody's life, and we want to keep them in that
Yeah.
fast thinking track of their brain rather than slowing it down with should I invest in something.
Yeah, and I like the starting at, especially for venues and other companies. You can decide that you don't even want to have, because some people that have a lot of budget don't even think of weddings going to be 100,000. They have no idea what a 300-person wedding costs. So I think there is that scaring them off. But some people just need that extra, like, should I even contact this person? We've done
Yeah.
research on our side that just some indication of pricing gives them a little more confidence to actually reach out. So there's both sides of the coin. And I think the answer is, different for each company. But if you have a lot of inquiries coming in, which a lot of people do right now, adding a simple starting at is a really good way to at least do some sort of filtering.
Yeah, and and not just from your own perspective as the service provider and wasting your time or weeding
Yeah.
out unqualified inquiries, it's also good for the person who you're working with.
Yeah.
And it shows transparency and openness. It also lets them know that you're going to give them the basic information they need to be able to make a good decision. It can lower what's called reactance, or this feeling of being closed in or boxed in or tricked by somebody. This is the typical like armor that comes up when a salesperson approaches you. If you can take that away by just being upfront and open and saying, hey, this is a business transaction. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
Here's what it takes to have a conversation with me, or here's how much it costs to move forward with me. That I think is appreciated by people, and you can be rewarded by at least sharing that starting at price.
Yeah, I love that. And that's very similar to what our research has shown. So I'm going to jump ahead, and then we're going to come back and kind of compare the two. And I'd love your perspective on the Party Slate profile. So third-party profiles, we know you on the call have a love-hate relationship with the 13,000 different platforms out there that you probably use every day, like Thumbtack and Yelp and other things. But what we will say is you can't be all things to all people. So when you start thinking about third-party platforms, whether you do wedding, corporate, all of these type of events, what I always tell people is, number one, third-party platforms have really strong domain authority and strong SEO. So like Party Slate will probably beat you out, like Event Planners Chicago versus a Chicago wedding planner, just because we have 1 million people a year visiting the site, and we have 3 full-time SEO people, which we're really lucky to have. But what I always tell people is prioritize 1 or 2 platforms, maybe 2 or 3 if you have the time, and think through which ones are right for your business. So, there's mass market or luxury. party? What are you looking for? Are you looking for volume? Or are you looking for fewer leads, but from a larger scale budget? Is it wedding only, or do you also do milestone events, 50th birthdays, bar mitzvahs, galas, corporate? Do you want to have a free listing, or do you want someone to do the work for you, like account management, white glove? And then how much time do you have, or can you make, whether it's once a quarter, once a year, to make sure your profiles are up to date? I also like to think about, we focus at Party Slate on inspiration marketing, really attracting people with all this great content, Sam, like you talked about before, inspiring them first, and then getting them to look for their great venues and planners and caterers on Party Slate, versus a leads only platform. I don't know if you've ever used Thumbtack. I have for like plumbers and other things. That's not an inspiration platform, but if you need 5 plumbers and you bids, that's a great way to go. And then think about how you will measure your success. So once you have your short list of your 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, if you're ambitious, what we tell people is to think about your profile in a similar manner to all the things we just talked about with the website. And so I'm just going to use Chris Weinberg because she has a fully built out profile, but we have hundreds of great profiles to share. The first thing you'll notice is the rotating cover photos. We have a free profile and we have a premium profile. And even the free profile, I will say, is best in class. Of course, I'm biased, but it is best in class for a event professional profile. We want to get people excited about the different types of events you do: indoor, outdoor, large, small, different backgrounds. This is a great place to invite them in. This about section is really the storytelling. And I know, Sam, this is an area that you have expertise you have. Copywriting is so important. You don't want it to sound like a boilerplate about section. You really want it to sound, inviting. We like it when you put it in, first or first person, like we feel this, and you're telling your story. And I always say that for LinkedIn as well. Make it a first person account for who you are versus kind of a third party boilerplate. We say build your credibility and your authority with these amazing links to your recognition. So if you've been in Vogue, if you've been in Party Slate, if you've been in a local blog, these links to and from your profile are very, very good for SEO, but also it builds your credibility. And again, we're not trying to close a deal and get a signed contract. Oh, I would love it if we could on Party Slate. We want to encourage people to learn more, visit your website, your social media. And then again, we think a video is so powerful. So if you have a welcome video or an about video to get them to know your personality and what you stand for, that is amazing. I know you all have, friendors that are videographers, or even, today with like reels and other things, we've gotten better at video editing. Just a short and sweet, even if it's almost amateur created, a video about who you are and what you stand for is really, really good for conversion. And then of course, the biggest section here is your professional profile. And this is where, Sam, we have the most interaction on our profile pages. And you'll notice if you want to show bar mitzvahs, if you want to show wedding showers, engaged couples like to look at corporate, mitzvah moms like to look at weddings. Like people are looking all different types of events. And I think this is a great place to show you didn't just start your business last week. You're not the new kid on the block. You have all of this experience. You've seen it all. And then of course, when you click into one of these events, you can really showcase all your professional network and have like a nice little, this is like a blog on, like Blog 101, where you have a description, you have a headline, you have all your partners. We want to make your storytelling easy because we know you don't have a lot of time. And then Chavi, I would love for you to talk a little bit about these new premium features that we added, which is testimonials and meet the team and FAQs.
Yeah, so we have, testimonials as a way to kind of really showcase your brand, showcase all the great work that you've done. We've heard through research that people, send you a quick note saying thank you. You can ask if you can put that on your Party Slate profile. This can come from other vendors, or it can come from your clients that you worked with, because we know future clients, future consumers are going to look at both. They want to know that you worked well with vendors that maybe they're going to be picking, and they want to know how you worked with clients as well. So both are really important to showcase on here. And then
also you can link back to the event which Chubby, I think that was your amazing idea to do that. And I think it's genius. I got to give you points here because we don't want like fake Yelp reviews where you have like an angry mother-in-law, a bad review, or a competitor. These are your best reviews, but how we make it real, again, Chubby's idea, credit, is you can link back to the event that they're actually talking about. So this is a real person that had a real event, and this is the testimonial from that real event.
Yeah, I'm biased, but that is one of my favorite things because then they can go and see the event, right? They can go
Yeah.
see exactly what was executed and see why it was so great in a different way, not just words, but visual, in a visual way. And then here we have a way for you to kind of showcase your team. You can showcase 1, 2, 3, however many people. I think it's a little different based on your category and things, but you can showcase, a little bit about yourself. We really want people, I think Sam might've said this, people aren't buying necessarily, like a specific person or brand. Like they want to see how you work together. They want to see your entire company. They want to learn a little bit about you and what makes you special and connect with you, and put a name and face and all that kind of stuff to a company. So it's a great place to show that.
Overlooked a lot on websites, Sam. I go to like the about section. I know we did a webinar on just the about section on how it's kind of like the boilerplate, but like, people want to know, like, Sam, how did you get into the events business? What makes you excited about working with this industry? People want to know what make you tick, and they want to know your story. And so this is just a way to give that quick, just nugget of like who Chris is as a person.
And there's a question about an about us page that we can come back to after we finish going through this as well.
Okay.
But yeah, then we get into our FAQs, also biased, but also one of my favorite sections. This is really great for a way to get more information to your clients and really build your SEO. So we have questions pre-generated for you that you can pick from, or you can write any of your own questions. And you can write a few sentences to answer them. We recommend at least 10 FAQs on your profile. It's a really great way to get quick content, quick answers and things like that onto your profile.
Yeah, and so these are the preloaded questions that Chubby mentioned. You don't have to use these questions. And of course, you want to think, as Sam was saying, what story do you want to tell? But these are questions that are commonly asked in Google. And so what we found is the event professionals that use FAQs have something like 4 or 5 times the impressions than the profiles without the FAQs. And so Google's algorithm is rewarding content. Maybe it's because people stay longer, maybe because it's a higher engaged page, but also that Q&A format is rewarded by Google. So originally when we were adding this section, I was like, oh, is this too like 1990s? I'm making this up, FAQs, that like the original website days, there was FAQ section. But if you think about it, people have a lot of questions. And if you directly answer those questions, again, don't try to answer every question, but answer the high level questions just enough to get them to contact you. And then the last
FAQs are kind of like the PS of a note.
Yeah.
It's what everyone's like, oh, there's an FAQ. I'm not going to read TLDR. Didn't read anything up above, but I'm going to read the FAQ.
Yes, I think it's true. And I think, do you want to try to answer most of those questions even before they get to those sections? Yes. But sometimes it could just reinforce, your services, how you like to work. Do you only do full service? These are the things you want them to know right away before they call you and they say, I'm looking for a day of planner. We know how Party Slate feels about a day of planner. Almost an impossible job and very difficult. So we really want to encourage them. If you don't do day of, and there's nothing wrong with it, but if you don't, just say why you can encourage them to do partial planning or something that's a little bit sets you up for success and then for success as well. And then finally, what we found is in your sleep, as you credit those event professionals, your professional network starts growing. And this is something that we find is great credibility building. If they want to say, wow, I wonder if they've done an event at Faina, because that's where my wedding's going to be. You can see all the venues that this Chris Weinberg has worked with. That is great credibility building for you, but also amazing for the venues that you're connected with. And so Chris will also be on all of these venue pages. So it's a little bit like LinkedIn, but it's helping with that credibility building, giving you one more reason why you should reach out. And then ultimately, when we ask them to contact you, we have now put them through kind of a really simple workflow. So it's not, Sam, like you talked about, so intimidating, like I have to answer all these questions. Most of the questions are optional for that very reason that you mentioned before, because not everyone knows what their budget is. Not everyone knows what their theme's going to be. So we keep it really, really simple and kind of almost like a conversation you would have on the phone. We want to provide more information to you so you can qualify even before you jump on the phone with people. So this is a really kind of quick walkthrough of that. And I will say for venue pages, we've also added, and this is a new thing, this is an example of just enough pricing, like for a venue where, for a 100-person event, Saturday night, and you can also download more additional information about packaging and off-peak pricing, but it's not so much like your event's going to be $300,000. Like we're not saying that, but enough to be like, okay, I'm looking at 3 hotels or 3 venues. This feels like it could be within my price range. So I think that's a really great new feature that Chavi really drove to create based on our research, based on our consumer research.
Yeah, our consumers told us that this is like the first thing that, when they're looking at venues specifically, it often does tend to be like, wait, I just want to estimate, like, is this in my ballpark or not? And that's all we're trying to give them. To Sam's point, we're not trying to give a specific package and your full, like exactly what it's going to cost, but they just want to know, like, okay, is this like,
am I going to embarrass myself?
Yeah. Is it like a $10,000 thing or like a $500,000 thing? Right. I just want to know a little bit, like, should I contact and spend my time there because this is like a stressful, emotional thing. And I want to make sure it is the right fit for me on all levels.
And I knew there are some venues that registered today for the webinar. For the venues on the page, what we found is we enabled you to put a virtual tour, like a Matterport tour, right within your profile page. Again, this is great on a sales call. Like if you're on a Zoom, because more of us are on Zooms for our meetings, you can actually pull up your Party Slate profile and actually walk through all your event spaces. And you might say, well, maybe you have that on your website. You might have it on your website, but I've seen a lot of your websites, and no offense, they're not as visual as this. So you can actually show each of your event spaces and actually show a few pictures. This only has one, but you can put multiple pictures, just showing, oh, maybe we'll have our welcome reception on the rooftop balcony. Oh, what does that look like? And you have it right here, all the information. So we're trying to, especially for venues, shorten the sales cycle and make it easier to really show all of these great things. So again, this is just one other example. Did I miss anything for venues? Anything else, Chavi? Events?
No, I think those are the
Okay.
2 or 3 big things. Thank you.
Okay, so just to go back to our presentation. So just to summarize, and again, this really mirrors what Sam talked about in the website section. Number one, you want to have that engaging photo, cover photo. Think about the photos that do really well on Instagram. If you're premium, you can have 5 photos rotating that are almost like an ad inviting you in. And then that has to be coupled with that strong about storytelling. And again, Sam and his team are the experts. I have the digital agency background. Copywriting is so undervalued and so important. Like if I just had an amazing event, I saw you in an elevator and I just showed you a photo and didn't say anything, I just like held it up, like it's just not going to have the impact you want. So it's the images plus the words that are so important.
I love that you bring that up, Julie. There's a couple of things that I was thinking of. Number one, it's like, imagine you get so excited about this vacation you went on, or this new thing this new product or service you're really excited about, and you did want to show somebody. You always talk when you're sharing, you narrate. You give them the highlights, you hook them with the story, you tell them about some of the background, you tell them why you're excited or how you heard about it, whatever it may be. There's always words that go along with it. So I love that. Another thing that I think of, because it's such this myth in the wedding industry that nobody reads anymore. It's total BS. People read. And I read this actually in a book on marketing to the affluent. It said, poor people have big TVs, rich people have big libraries. The average 10%er in the world reads or in the US reads over 30 books a year. People who have money love reading. And so one of the things that we have to remember is that they're looking for words. You want to write that site or the listing so that they're skimmable in the beginning, because
Yes.
they're looking for something that's going to capture their attention. They're checking for that starting at price. They're seeing if they know what the next step is going to be. And then when they've either taken that step or they want to go back and maybe read more and learn more before they take that next step, you've got to have some content in there, especially for something that you're selling for $3,000, $5,000, $15,000. People don't want less information. As they get closer to making the decision, they want more. So
More
make sure that you're
information.
writing the site for when they come back after they inquire, and maybe
Yes.
the fiance is involved or the parents are involved or somebody else is involved. You got to have words there. It's
Yeah.
super, even if we weren't in copywriting, I would tell you, you are losing tens of thousands of dollars a year by not having enough copy on your site.
Yes, I agree. And I think when we talk about conversion and getting them to contact you, the portfolio and gallery sections that just have photos, and again, Michelle's was more photo rich, but she has a lot of other words in other sections of her site. We think like just the headline for the event, if they skim the headline, engaging, Julie and Doug all white wedding at the Four Seasons, whatever it is, getting that engagement on the headline then could get them to click through and read the description. And the description is like a marketing opportunity. It's not just like the people can't walk down the aisle. It's telling the story of the couple and how, all the great things that went into the story of that event. So we really feel that rich portfolio and to showcase your experience comes with images and words. And words are good for Google. Again, it's good for marketing, but good for Google. Images alone, yes, you can do alt tags and photos, are not enough. So we have purpose-built this profile page to combine images plus words to make it easier to tell your story. So I talked about the profile, I talked about authority building, we showed those features. And then again, as Chubby mentioned, the SEO rich features like FAQs and optimizing headers and descriptions like I just talked about. That's the difference between, really having a kind of bare profile that just does the job and having a profile that actually converts. We have found, Sam, that our built out profiles, many of them are managed by our white glove service team that does a lot of the heavy lifting, have like 8 to 10 times the views versus the free profile. And it's largely, yes, it's the features, the advanced features, but it's also just the level of content. As you put more content and Google sees it's up to date, you're going to get more direct traffic to your profile page. And we don't want to be before your website. Your website will always be first when you get your Google, someone Googles your name, but we don't want Yelp to be next. We want a beautiful Party Slate profile to be next, or your Instagram to be next. Chubby, do we have any questions as we go through this?
We do, actually. I think that was a good time.
Yeah.
So there's a question about the About Us section or About section in general. What is kind of like the suggested layout? When is there too much text? Should you include one headshot, multiple headshots? This is a planner and they want to, convey a little bit about their personality, but they don't want to overload the end client. So what tips or suggestions do you
I'm going to actually just pull up About section, but Sam, this is one of your expertise that I think you could possibly answer better than me.
Yeah, why don't you pull up the Zandy Entertainment, and I'll just
Okay.
kind of and click on the
Perfect.
About section. So boom, there you go. The whole team, right? And what does this say? This says it's not just Roman, it's a whole group of people.
Yeah.
And so that you see right away. And then we're calling out a value proposition right here, above and beyond the dance floor. So we already know that they are DJs. Now what else are we going to learn? And this is when you're able to go through and to start highlighting why you. And this isn't just about you. This is about why you can help them better than other people get what they're looking for. So you want to bring them into the story, and you do that by demonstrating empathy. I understand where you're at and what you're hoping for. And then you showcase your expertise. This is what I know better than anybody else in the industry. And that's really what we're doing at the top to hook them and get them to eventually make it down the page. So as you work down the page, we have some social proof here that provides some reassurance with directly what was said above. And then we have a value statement of a personal connection. This is what Roman sees as his biggest differentiator. And then he goes through and he starts to talk about what it's like to be a client. Yeah. And then walks you through those different things. And you see all these questions in there. How do you want to feel on your wedding day? What memories do you want to take away with you? What do you hope people will be talking about at the brunch the next day? He's asking them questions and putting them into the position. And on the about page, it's not about him. It's about how that particular client might benefit from working with him and his company.
Oh my
So
gosh.
there's a lot more than just like to the question of like how many headshots do I put in, how many words, as many words as you can keep people interested in.
Yeah.
We like to see somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 to even 900 words on an about page, higher being more people on the team that you need to talk about, more things that you do, more services that you offer, that kind of thing. But we look at on home, about, and services, you should have somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 words on
And then
those three pages
people get
combined.
intimidated by that. And I'll tell you that more and more Google's looking for depth of content. They're not looking for like loaded keywords or unnatural language, but they're looking for is there content, and then also are people engaging with the page? And so if they're not bouncing from the page, Google's assumption is there's good content on this page.
Yeah, and you can see, I don't know, let's count how, if we go to the top, Julie, how many CTAs are on this? I
Yeah.
don't know. Let's see. We've got one.
One,
Let's
let's see.
see.
I just saw another one down here.
Uh-huh.
Two.
Two.
I
And
thought
then
there
is
was a
there,
third one.
and then down below,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more.
Yeah. And then again, these bios are really great too. So, another option, again, this is a great simple template of one page, is to have a couple sections under about us where it's like lead partners, personal story, then meet the team bios, what you stand for, core values. So you can put a lot under it, but I think the most important thing, which you do really well on this page, is like get to know the team. What do you stand for? How are you going to drive engagement on this page? So I wouldn't worry about it being too long. To Sam's point, I'd worry about the story that you want to tell. And sometimes, Sam, I think when you guys interview your clients, you do this Q&A back and forth. I'm confident in your like intake, like they have the information. It's just about organizing it and
Oh
getting
yeah.
it there.
That's, I do, I've sold our services to 150 different, people for their businesses over the last 3 years doing copywriting. And I can assure you that our process works because it's so in depth.
Yeah.
And we go through and one of the things that I hear from people who reach out to us on why they want us to write their copy, for instance, is they're like, I have it all in my head, but I just don't know how to say it. Or I need somebody with a fresh perspective to tell me what's actually interesting and what's not.
Yeah.
And so for our
That's what
intake process,
we hear that too, Sam. And I think that's such a service that you guys provide in our customer success team, that they have it up here. They're doing 3,000 different things and events, and they just need someone to help them get it going. And then it makes such a difference, huge difference.
I wanted to point out something in here that kind of ties into what you had started with. Can you go to the homepage on this one?
On this
Because I
one?
really like, on
Yeah.
Paramount Events.
Yeah.
So if you scroll down to there, right here, we believe life's best moments happen around the table. So this is a value statement that immediately they're trying to hook somebody who shares that same value. Not the people who watch TV while they eat, but people who interact with the other human beings while they eat. And then I love this. There are two things in the first 10 words: a woman-owned, green certified business.
Yeah.
So right away, this copywriter has put into the hook two different things that people can barb themselves on and not let go of. Number one, it's woman owned. Okay. This is really important, especially if probably their ideal client is a bride. And so right now they're already creating an edge over a male owned or a mixed gender company. And then they have the green certified business. All of these photos have tons of green in them, vegetable oriented. They're talking about sustainability and how important it is from gathering it from your local providers. So they're putting that in the headline or in the first sentence of the body copy right underneath the headline. And this is a way that you can talk about people without actually saying like, here's about me. They're doing it real low key.
Yes. And I think that it's that storytelling, like conversational, and also like, what do they believe in? Because there's a lot of caterers out there. What do they believe in? What are they kind of like putting their stake in the ground? So I really love that. I know we have 7 more minutes. Like, Chubby, was there any more questions from the chat?
Some of them we've been answering in the chat, but I'll ask this one. It's a two-part. One, there was a question around what does CTA stand for? I know we throw it out. It's a techie
Yeah.
term.
Call to action. Call to action is just like inspiring someone to do something like, contact me to learn more, or what are you interested in? This is kind of a call to action. What are you interested in? And then a button to click. So it's like, what would inspire you to click something for further engagement, like contact or things like that? Yes.
Yeah.
Good question. Yes.
What makes a good CTA? I know we touched on this a little bit, but I'll ask for you guys to expand on that a little bit.
So a couple of things I think that are good. If you go, Julie, to Roman's site and you go by the About page, there, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll notice that there's a little carrot. Keep going down a little bit, right there. See underneath the personal connection.
Yeah.
You see that? If you scroll up just a touch, you'll see that little carrot there. That's a call to action. It's very subtle, very subliminal. It's design centered, so it can pass the blurry eye test, or it could be something that is so subtle. Another thing, which if you go to Michelle's site and you go to the 3 CTAs that she has on there, I want to highlight some super advanced stuff. And I don't know if she did this on purpose, but I'll believe so. You see where it says discover and explore? So one of the things that we want to do is we want to prime people for taking a risk when they are going to reach out or inquire or spend money or pick us as their service provider. And what we know is that we can actually prime people to feel more confident and more interested in taking risks if we use risk-oriented words that encourage them to get off of status quo. So discover means that you have to go out.
I love this. I haven't heard this before.
Too.
This is awesome.
This is stuff. So I'm in a behavioral science program at Texas A&M on the marriage of marketing, sales, and psychology.
You're officially more geeky than I am, Sam.
So I am a complete dork when it comes to stuff like this. A nerd. I'm a wonk when it comes to things like this, because it's so important, and these little differences can make huge impact. So yes, you want to make it visible in your face, the big ugly button. You want to make sure you pass the blur test. You also want to provide subtle things like little carrots, or the V shape is pretty standard when you have a big photo, a headline, some body copy, and then the CTA. It literally leads your eye down to pick that button. And then you can also put what's called micro copy or button copy in a way that creates encouragement for a risk moving forward. Click that CTA. Bonus points for providing reassuring testimonials underneath any CTA. Anytime you have a CTA, you would want to put a testimonial to provide reassurance. Like, reaching out to Michelle was the first step on the best journey of our lives. Like, that would reinforce the risk of discovering or exploring with Michelle.
Right. And I think that people don't realize, again, because I've done this for 20 years and I've been in focus groups behind glass in the old days, and now it's all digital, and we do desirability testing. We do so many amazing things to learn this stuff, that there is a lot of psychology on choice of words and design too. And you're like, well, it's just a button, isn't it? It's not just a button. Time is money. Like, you have a lot of things to do. We're all really busy. So what is going to be the payoff to actually getting them to spend a little bit more time? And again, I'll tell you one thing: if they cannot figure out who you are within the first 3 seconds, you have no chance of getting anyone to click anything. So that handshake, encouraging them, the right photos, the right experience, really, really will increase your chance that they want to learn about your services. And I always tell people, don't slap your 800 number at the top. Don't drive to Instagram. Yes, you want to get Instagram links. Yes, you want your phone number in an accessible place, but your goal is to keep them on. Oh, I didn't see that picture of Michelle. Keep them engaged with your website and drive them to, and inspire them, I'll say, to contact you. On that note, we have 2 more minutes left. I love this conversation. How we can help. Number one, we are happy to do, and I love doing these because I am a geek also, Sam, a complimentary website review. It takes me about 4 minutes to go through these 5 areas. You can either scan with your phone. You know, if you haven't learned how to during the pandemic to scan a menu, you can put your phone up to the screen and scan this, or you can just email me at julie@partyslate.com. We'll do a free review of your website. It takes me 3 minutes at night while I'm watching my Netflix. Number two, we have a great team that are happy to optimize your Party Slate profile, or if you want to learn more about our full service portfolio or packages where we'll actually do it for you. You can reach out to us. And then finally, and I'm not trying to be salesy here for Sam, but I'm a fan of Sam. I really think, yeah, I really think having a really simple website with the right copy and really thinking that through is so important. We don't, as much as my old career, I built websites my whole life, we don't build websites. We can help you with that same information on your Party Slate profile, but Sam and team really do have a great set of best practices. And now these templates to kind of get you started faster if you think you need a website redesign, even a facelift, I'm confident Sam can be helpful with. Lastly, a little pitch, my last minute. We are back open for events. Thank God. We are having probably about 18 events in 2022. These events have become part of our community, part of our product. We are so excited that we have Dallas next week. Anyone near Dallas, Houston, that's on Tuesday. New York is the end of February. We have, I think I saw Charlie and maybe some other people are planning LA. Cannot wait for LA. I love LA. Hopefully we can get some celebrities there. And all these dots, we are in the process of planning events. Aspen is finally coming this year, which I could not be more excited about. And we are partnering with Engage Foundation on a really, really amazing event in Aspen. So more details to come. So if you're interested, please reach out and we will add you to the guest list. On that note, we are out of time. So Sam, thank you so much. And Chovy for moderating and all the hard work you and the team does to make Party Slate such an amazing platform for people planning kind of these larger scale events to get inspired, but more importantly, find the people on this Zoom to help bring their vision to life. So thank you for all you do. And for me being a pain in the ass, asking for all these features and functions. I just can't help it. I love it so much. But thank you guys. We are going to have these monthly webinars, in-person events are coming back, and just love working with this industry. We made it through such a tough time. I know it's not fully over yet, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. So appreciate your time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for taking the time out.
Bye, everyone.